Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Saturday. It is January 10th, and we've got some races to cover over at Santa Anita. Santa Anita does have a 10-race card today. Their first post time is 12 o'clock there Pacific time, so that's 2 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. And, just a tough card, I find, from a betting standpoint. There's, probably some races there that you can pick out and find some value. They've got a couple stakes races there, some 3-year-olds that are, on the path to, trying to get to the 3-0 Classic races. What I found today to be difficult, to make multi-race wagers. So I've got a couple win bets here that I'm going to make today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bookend the card. And what that means is I've got a horse I like in the first race, and I have a horse I like in the last race. So let's get started here at Santa Anita in the first race. As I mentioned, it is a 12 o'clock post time, Pacific time, 2 o'clock here, Central Time Zone. They're going a mile on the dirt in the first race, and these are conditioned claimers, $10,000 claiming price. And these are non-two winners in their lifetime, fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And I've got a horse that I like here I'm going to make a win bet on, that being on the outside here. That's the 8 horse, who is Morgan's Bluff, coming from the Bob Hess barn. Now, Bob Hess has done a really good job with the Ship and Win program. And if you're not familiar with the Ship and Win program, what they've been doing the last few years, and as I mentioned, Hess has taken full advantage of this, is that they're paying owners a stipend to come out to California. It's I think that's $4,000, I believe, or something like that, to start the horse. Plus, you also get a bonus on the purse, with the first purse that you earn there at Santa Anita. So it ends up being a nice deal there for owners that want to come out to California for the wintertime. So Hess has been doing it, as I mentioned. He's done a good job with it, and it looks like, he's got a candidate here in Morgan's Bluff. Now, Morgan's Bluff is 9-2 in the program, ridden today by Armando Ayuso. And when Ayuso pairs up with Hess, they do a pretty nice job there. They do a really good job. They win quite a few races. So I just like the races that Morgan's Bluff has been running. I think she fits very well with this field here in California. She's done some decent work out there in the Midwest at Indiana Down, or Horseshoe Indianapolis. I ended up breaking her maiden over at Ellis Park back in the summer. And she'd been running in and around this kind of level. So I think, based on her races and the film I've watched, it looks like she fits pretty well here. Looks like she'll be running late, and, hopefully she'll get a good pace to run at. I mean, a lot of times, you'll see these 2-turn races, it is hard to pass. But, I think there's a couple horses that'll, speed it up there a little bit in that first race. And I think Morgan's Bluff will come running. As I mentioned, Ayuso does a nice job with Bob Hess horses. And Bob Hess, he really finished out the year pretty strong, in Southern California at Del Mar and a little bit at Los Alamitos. So we'll see if we can get started here at Santa Anita. So I'm going to make a win bet on the 8 horse, Morgan's Bluff, in the first race. Now I'm going to skip over the next many races. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go to the last race. Last race being the 10th race of the day. 10th race is a first-level California allowance race. They're going a mile on the grass here in this race. And approximate post time there is about 4:30 Pacific. So I think the Los Angeles Rams will be well into their game there. And the folks out in Southern California might be doing double duty, watching the Rams as well as watching the races. So as I mentioned, this is a first-level California allowance race. And, something I noticed here. So I called the folks over at the Santa Anita Racing office. I spoke to a very nice gentleman who explained this to me, with a bit of a addition to their rules. So in California, with the Calbreds, what they're doing, they've added a new wrinkle to their allowance rules there. So we'll take the 4-horse, for example. That would be Cali Cat. So Cali Cat has won a couple races. You might look at the past performances and say, how does she qualify for this race? So what they're doing in California is they're letting a horse stay into that first-level allowance race on the same surface if it's a different distance. So Cali Cat had won a turf sprint in her lifetime. This is a turf route, so they're allowing her the chance to go a turf route in that same one other than level. So that's just a new wrinkle that they've been doing. I know for the past few years, they had been doing the rule where they're letting horses, California-bred horses, stay in that first level allowance if it was a different surface. So if they won on dirt, they could win on turf, or vice versa, turf to dirt. So they added just a new wrinkle there, and it's just a way to get horses, to more starters in races. So again, I really think the gentleman over there at the Santa Anita Racing office to explain this to me so I know the rule and I could pass this along to you folks. So thanks again to the racing office there at Santa Anita. So in this 10th race, I do have a win bet I'm going to make here in this mile grass race, that being on the 2-horse, King of Dragons. King of Dragons comes in for the Peter Urton barn, and Mirko DeMuro rides the horse. And, I've spoken about DeMuro, a lot in the last, several episodes where he's been riding exceptionally well there in California, just on any surface, any distance. Mirko DeMuro's really been getting it done there, and, it's been a nice addition to the jock colony. So, Peter Urton takes over this horse. This horse had originally been trained by Richard Baltus, and, this horse does have a win at the route distance on the turf. So, certainly shows that he likes the turf route. So I think the question's been answered, turf routing for King of Dragons, the horse should like to do that. So this horse is 4-1 in the program today. I expect somewhere around this. So I like the way this horse has come into this race. As I mentioned, this horse was a new addition to the Peter Urton barn. So Urton had this horse one time. They ran a turf route in early November over at Del Mar, and this horse ended up coming second to Winning Patriot. And I really liked Winning Patriot that day. I think I'd given Winning Patriot out on Fast Horses today, but that was a really nice winner that day. A very ready winner. I think that's Carla Gaines' horse. I like the way King of Dragons ran up at Winning Patriot. So I think it was a case of King of Dragons needing the race because this horse hadn't run since February. Ended up running in the in a turf sprint, which was won by Cali Cat, who we talked about Cali Cat. But something certainly went amiss after that race because we hadn't seen King of Dragons from February up until November of last year. And I thought he came back with a really nice race. And I like the second start off the layoff here for Peter Urton. I think that he does well with that. And, just in watching the film, like I said, I think that King of Dragons really needed that race back on November 8th when he came second to Winning Patriot. So, the style the turf course produced yesterday, they produced a running style of horses were coming from behind and horses were, circling and making that outside move. So I don't know if that's a result of a lot of rain, being, hitting that turf course and making it different than what it usually is. Now, the turf course will be a little different today because the rails were out a bit. The rail position seems to be at 0 today. So I would still expect, that turf course is still pretty lush. I mean, they got a lot of rain there out there in Southern California. So the turf course, probably playing a little different than it usually does. Usually it's very fast and very, very much like a putting green in some ways where, speed really does carry. So I think we'll see some, the different style here than what we're used to seeing in Southern California because of that rain. So I'm expecting King of Dragons to make a nice sweeping move into the stretch and finish him strong. So we're going to make a win bet on the 2-horse, King of Dragons. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Saturday, January 10th at Santa Anita, we've got 2 win bets here to make. We're going to bookend the card. Starting out in the first race, I'm going to make a win bet on the 8-horse, Morgan's Bluff. Move to the 10th race, the 2-horse, King of Dragons. So if you see fit, you want to make the win bets on those 2 horses in the 1st and the 10th race, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to use those horses for your multi-race wagers, your pick 3s, your pick 5s, either that first pick 5 or that last pick 5, I wish you the best of luck. And as always, let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing there on this Saturday. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips. As we know, that can certainly make a difference in winning and losing. So as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. Thanks to everybody who's hit the subscribe button recently. Really appreciate you. Everyone who's hit the subscribe button from the beginning. So I appreciate all of our subscribers and viewers. If you haven't done so, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It just delivers the content to you. You can always like, dislike, make comments. Make good comments, make bad comments. I promise to respond to everything. Let's create a discussion. I would really like that. So again, good luck today at Santa Anita at the Great Race Place. And enjoy the day, enjoy the Los Angeles Rams, and enjoy the racing from Santa Anita. We'll see you back tomorrow for more coverage. Have a great day.